With over 500,000 trees and shrubs already planted and growing, it's easy to forget you are in the city. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Good evening and welcome to Real Talk with me, Anele Mdoda. Mondays are for motivation, which is why we've lined up another show for you to hear the inspirational stories of South African entrepreneurs. Today we're looking at online businesses and the business of medicine. And what would an entrepreneurship discussion be without our resident business guru, Vusi Thembekwayo? That's all happening a little bit later. But before we do that, let's get into the business of entertainment, honey. As we welcome back entertainment commentator Phil Mpela, who's here to recap another weekend of South African entertainment. I must tell you, as I reversed out of my house today when I fell, I was like, I haven't heard any stories. I wonder what Phil has. And as I said that to myself, I'm like, come on, Phil always has the scoop on something, okay?
Yeah, well, look, another week, another lawsuit. So this week it's talking about the Black Motion lawsuit. This happened last year. A lot of people remember that last year there was a big story around them being kicked off a plane.
I didn't even know about this.
That's the thing. People don't read anymore.
I do read. I really do
People
read.
don't read newspapers anymore.
Okay, so they kicked off a plane. Is it a local plane?
Yes, they were flying from Cape Town to Johannesburg.
Okay.
Yes. So what had happened is that they had the business class tickets. Okay. So at some point during the whole process of getting onto the plane, they were told that they cannot be on business anymore. They have to be downgraded. Okay.
Why?
Obviously, I'm getting to that. So obviously the boys are on some. Okay, we've got the tickets to be on business class. Why are we taking out of? Because everybody else is sitting. Why are you coming in and taking us off business class? Turns out that there was a lady, a white lady. It's important that I mention her race because it's going to make sense in the story. A white lady's chair had some issues, so she had to be moved to a different seat. So for them to accommodate her, they had to move somebody, and they chose to move the two boys from Black Motion. Okay?
I'm gonna take my earrings off. Mr. Jackson.
So naturally the boys are on some, okay, we're the only two black people up in here, so why are you taking us off? And of course a commotion started there, and then the cabin crew were not impressed with that, and the pilot got involved, and the boys were kicked off the plane. The police were called.
Because also, on a plane, a pilot does serve as a sheriff as well.
Exactly.
So he is a policeman in the air, and you have to listen to them.
Yeah, and
now
the actual police were called, so the boys were escorted off the plane. Okay, cool. So subsequent to that, the boys go on social media, obviously. They tell their story, the country goes behind them, and the story becomes a racism story. Then the CEO of ComAir starts to get involved in the conversation. His name is Eric Venter, and he disputed the issue of racism, right? And he said that they would have an inquiry within the company to see what had happened.
What does he say happened?
Okay,
so they can possibly say she's a frequent flyer, she gets preference, but that's still nonsense.
No, it gets better, okay? Just wait. So they do the inquiry, and their own investigation shows that there were at least 3 white male men on the plane that could have been downgraded before the 2 Black Motion guys. So the issue of the racism is clear there. It's clear there that they were judged on race and whatever. So now the boys are suing for 3.7 million rand for damages. Okay, sue high, get low.
Get low. And I mean, the emotional turmoil, must have cost them so much. They were probably not as happy at their next gig, It cost them a lot of money, this turmoil that this airline did. I totally understand it.
Well, we can't understand it, but hey, what are you gonna do? But now, ComAir is saying that no, we are not willing to pay anything above the 50,000 rand that you would have been paid for the gig that you're saying that you missed. Now, that's where I have a problem with this story, okay? Because if ComAir is saying that they're only gonna pay these guys 50,000 rand because they're going to a gig where they're gonna be paid 50,000 rand, there are other costs that are incurred.
Reputational damage
exactly. Do you know
for
what I mean?
not pitching up for a gig.
Exactly, and especially when your investigation shows that yes, there was an issue of racism. It makes no sense to me that they would say that no, we're only going to stick to the amount that you were supposed to be paid at that gig. Absolutely makes no sense to me. They should have just given them at least 500,000 or $1 million.
Yeah.
then I would be okay with that. But 50,000 rand, I think, no, it's not going to work. The boys are not dropping the lawsuit, so it's still going. I doubt that they will get 3.7 million.
Yeah.
But they might be getting around maybe $1.5 million.
No, that's fine. I totally back them. SAA, please could we just fix ourselves so we don't have to fly these other airlines? That's all I'm saying. No, really, because that's rubbish. If they're going to put white people ahead of black people, then let's find another airline to fly with.
Yeah,
and this is what, as South Africans, we need to really start speaking with our money.
Yeah.
Because when you don't feel our business any longer and you feel the dent, that's when you'll wake up. Otherwise, they're going to do this again, and then they're going to do it to people who don't have the platform that Black Motion has to highlight it.
I'm glad you said that, because somebody on social media said, Jorge, we know this because it happened to Black Motion.
Exactly. What about
how many other incidents that are
of
happening that are not being reported on social media? So, look, I hope the boys get a resolution out of this.
And you must keep us updated on that one.
All right, cool. And we move on to a sad, I don't know if it's a sad or a good story, because, I mean, he's jovial about it. I don't know why. Jack Devnarain, who plays Rajesh on E84, is leaving the show after 15 years. Can you imagine? I feel so old because I remember watching him growing up back home.
I remember him and Lee.
Yeah, I remember Priya. When do you remember Lee?
Oh, no, I didn't like Priya. Priya was
I remember
awkward for
Priya.
me. I liked him and Lee, and it was so sad when she passed away, and you could feel the loss in him. Where is he going? Has he been scooped up by another soapy?
No, he said that he's still going to continue acting, but he says that, okay, I actually have a statement from him that says that he was not fired by the production. He did not quit, but he left by the choice of the production. I don't know what that means, choice of the production. I assume it means that the storyline had to end. What's with the face? The storyline had to end. So he says that, I left by choice of the production. I support the decision. I live with gratitude and much respect for the show.
He's heavily underused behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I think that's where he should be heading now, be it as a maverick because he's really vocal about the rights of artists in the industry. And that we must applaud him for, on top of the fact that he's played, Rajesh for
15 years. And look, he seemed content. I mean, I saw him commenting a lot on social media, and he seems content about the decision, and he's very excited about doing these live shows that he says that he's going to be promoting. So good luck to him. We wish him all the best.
Okay, next one.
Next one, we're talking about Celeste Ntuli covering Bona Magazine.
All right, you know, what a stunning cover. And also the fact that she's dressed amazingly.
Yeah, the black dress.
Yes, it's not just a case of, oh, here, let's put a big girl in a sheet and, you know, hope. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a cover of covers. She's radiant, she's beautiful. And you know what? It's going to sell because Celeste brings numbers.
No, look, and that's the argument that I always make, that, you know what, when you're talking to editors in the industry, when you're talking to celebrity in the industry, they're like, the only reason why you only see it girls on covers is because they sell.
No, they
However,
don't.
I'm a numbers guy, and I look at the numbers, and I look at the ABC numbers, circulation numbers, and you look at all these magazines that are going with It Girls, their numbers drop. I mean, like, they can sell. Even the biggest female star in South Africa, Bona Mataba, doesn't sell that well when it comes to magazines.
Yeah.
However, when Bona Magazine decided to go this route of putting people that we're not used to on the cover.
Real people.
This last quarter that just ended, the circulation quarter that just ended, Bona Magazine is the only magazine that is targeted to black people that actually had an upswing in their sales. Everybody else went down, from Destiny to Drum to everybody. They went down. They were the only people that got an up. So that goes to show that the perceived notion that the It Girls are the only ones that sell, it's not true. You understand? And we need to get to a point where we do what Bona is doing and embrace everybody in the industry and give everybody a platform to shine.
And also, you know, be risky. I also like what Cosmopolitan did with Kifi Boo.
Exactly.
You know, it's not something that you thought could happen, but she has almost 400,000 followers on Instagram, right? And she runs a business in making people look good. For me, I bought that one because I backed it. I'm definitely buying the Celeste one. And I also like the Destiny one with Mushidi.
Yes, yes. I'm a huge Mushidi fan. I'm a Tswana boy.
Yeah?
So, you know, I'm rooting for her. I mean, look, every time you have actresses on covers, and not just your models and whatever, it boosts their careers. You know, like Musidi has been on the background for a while, and now being on the cover, she's doing a comeback. She's on the show on another channel, on DSTV and all of that. So that helps boost her popularity and makes her current, and, you know, she will get more jobs outside of just her own acting jobs.
And also, she's very big on the producing skills. Hey? She did a few movies.
Yeah, can I tell you a little secret?
Yes.
Mushiri is not working on like your typical, black film. Mushiri looked at the industry and said the money is in the Afrikaans film industry,
'cause she
and
did
she's producing.
Numis,
Yes, she's producing films for the Afrikaans
Please,
market.
can we roll those pictures again? The one with Celeste and Mushiri. I really want to see. This is excellence.
Yeah.
When we're looking at the Vogues, when we're looking at the Bazaar, and we're looking at that, the international magazines, I think those two covers.
Yeah.
Are saying, hey man, we're right up there.
And you know what? And it speaks to the talent beyond just the cover girls. It speaks to the talent with the photography, the talent with the makeup artists, the talent with the team behind these covers.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what we do is that we look to the Vogue, your Vogue SA, whatever they call it, to have that talent. And we think that people who are doing our own, magazines don't have the talent. Look, I'm not bashing True Love, but they need to up their game because they've set this standard where they are like, the leading whatever for female magazines. But sometimes they slack. I mean, they're editing like they're...
Oh, this is awkward now because my sister's on the cover.
I know. Let's talk about your sister. No, listen,
my heart is going, you better not say anything about my sister because
Well, let's talk about your sister. Let's talk about your sister because right now she's on the cover, right?
Yeah.
And there are a few people that are asking that, you look beautiful, but he doesn't look so much like you. And that's a problem for me.
I don't like the makeup.
Yes.
I don't like the lighting. She looks a little bit like the lighting here is wrong.
Exactly.
The styling is great. I haven't read the article, so I can't say anything about the story.
Exactly.
But True Love can do better.
It can do better. And we grew up with True Love and Drum Magazine as those magazines that, were at the top. And they might not have the numbers right now, but they still have that prestige. And they can do better because if they do better, then everybody else is seen in a positive light.
Look, I do think what's great when I feel is that when people are saying print is dead, you've got a story like Bona Magazine where they're turning it around.
Exactly.
And people are buying. And let's also not forget that they print in 4 languages.
That's the thing.
That has to work in their favor because what did Nelson Mandela say about someone's language? You talk to somebody in their own language, you've got them forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And for me, the other thing is the industry is about innovation.
Yeah.
When people say that, oh my God, this show is not doing well, I'm like, innovate, find ways to promote the show that is not your traditional way of doing the show. Print is dying. No, it's not dying. There's somebody out there who's still willing to buy a magazine. You might not be getting 100,000 units out there, but you can easily get 60,000 if you are innovative enough to still be appealing to those people. So we cannot just sit back and say, this is dying, so now we're living it. Do you understand? Because South Africa is not America, and we need to understand that.
You always preach this.
Traditional media in South Africa still has a lot of power than digital platform in South Africa because a lot of people don't have access to internet in South Africa.
Smartphones, that's not something that's readily available for us. Exactly. Okay, we're out of time. We did want to speak about Somizi and his engagement. Let's just say congratulations.
Congratulations, Somizi. All the best.
All the best. We're losing weight for the wedding. Ne? This is us asking for an invite.
Let's do Thank You Samazwai before you go. Before you forget. Thank You Samazwai. You're going to forget
we are out of time, really. The director
let's
shouted. Taniswa is coming onto the show.
All right, cool. Okay, she's going to have a party next week. Only women are invited to that party.
Yes.
And it's going to be amazing.
She's coming onto the show with the lineup.
All right, cool.
So on that day, can you come and we can do that together?
All right, cool.
All right, there we go. Thank you so much, entertainment commentator Phil Impela. We could talk forever, okay? The good news is King Ta. Thanusa Mazwai will be joining us right here next week. I've just popped an invite to Phil, so he better be here. She's going to bring some of the ladies joining her for the Amandla Woman Festival. This includes poets, authors, activists, and her very own sister, Ntsiki Mazwai, who will be giving one of the main performances. It is a date. We'll be right back with online entrepreneurs Gugu Kabinde, as well as Shona McDonald will be sitting here next. And welcome back to Real Talk. The advent of the internet has allowed for new business models to develop over time. These days, you don't always need the 4 walls and a door to launch your store. You can service your clientele with the simple click of a button. But what are the challenges that then come with online businesses? How does your marketing strategy need to change? And even though you're not paying a landlord a monthly rate, where do the bulk of your costs go? Gugu Gabinde and Shona McDonald are two entrepreneurs who identified two unique problems from their personal experiences that they turned into a lucrative way to solve problems for more women in their same shoes. We welcome to Real Talk the founder of Gugu Intimates, Africa's first nude bra range for women with dark skin tones, Gugu Gabinde, as well as founder of Thursdays, a lingerie and swimwear line, Shona McDonald. Now, ladies, what I love about both of you, and this is why you're here, is the fact that you saw something that wasn't personally being serviced for you. And then you said, you know what? I'm gonna make some money for it, right? Is that my correct assumption of how you started?
Not quite, I'm gonna make some money for it. It's not always my first thought. I'm the challenged by, why doesn't this exist? I'm gonna make it. So it started there, it was small, and then the opportunity just revealed itself, and I was like, okay, are you gonna just dabble in this thing, or are you gonna do it? And that's where it became commercial.
How long did it take you from because obviously there's like always a tingling thought. You're like, should I, shouldn't I? Right before you fall asleep at night, you're like, okay, I could do without this. Maybe I can sell this and start this off. But then there comes a time when you write it down and say, Gugu, you are doing this. When was that?
Look, mine was a journey. I think the first inklings of the idea came from a particular meeting. It was around August, September of 2015, I think it was, yeah, 2015, where you're wearing that white shirt, and then you ask the question, and then the answer to the question doesn't make you happy. And then you keep digging, and then you're like, what? Are we all wearing vests underneath our white shirts? This is problematic. And then I started to look for, is there somebody doing it? And it was a little bit inaccessible for what I thought the African market could at least try and afford. It was more expensive than what we've been able to achieve. And the more I continued with the work, I just think more women kept saying, listen, it's that problem, that's a problem. You just didn't know what the answer was until the answer was there.
That's why it was always a question in your head. Shona, when did the question come into your head with Thursdays?
I was studying a BCom entrepreneurship degree. And
Good place to start.
Yeah. And we were challenged to come up with a business model with a problem that hadn't been solved yet. And this was my business case. And I realized, why isn't it being done? And I really should be doing this. So I actually went to work in retail. I went to go and work in the supply chain. And eventually I started it. But always from the moment that I was finishing varsity and I had this business case, it was something that I wanted to do. It was something I felt very strongly about.
And both of you exist online, right? So let's start with the immediate issue of online, and that's trust. How do you make sure that people trust you all the time? And that, in a way, that's something that you are relaying in the messaging of your marketing. Shona?
I think it comes with being authentic as a person and through your messaging, telling your own story, making your customers be able to relate to you and saying, you know, I'm doing this because I understand where you're coming from. And that's my core purpose for doing it, to make you feel confident, to make you feel beautiful. So actually asking for feedback, asking for people to give inputs in what they would want from their perfect bra or their perfect swimwear, and then creating the product around that. And using real girls in our messaging. All of my models are real girls. They have different shapes and sizes, but they're all absolutely beautiful. And they actually make me feel more confident in swimwear because I just see how wonderful they look in it. And I can relate to those kind of people. So I think that's where the trust comes in, is really making an authentic message.
Gugu? Your imaging and the pictures and the girls standing next to each other with the different shades of, you know, black tones, and even the way you launched everything, I was just like, wow. You know, like, so, you know, honestly, and it looked effortless, right? Yeah. Who's the think tank there? Because to me, when I look at it, it is an extension of who you are, right?
Now.
Okay, but
Over
surely
time,
there's people who come in and, you know, everyone puts their word in without tainting it. You know?
Yeah, look, I was blessed with my life's journey has been about starting this business. It's only in hindsight that I can say that honestly, but I've been trained for Gugu Intimates from possibly one of my first jobs at Unilever. For one, is understanding the pillars that build a business. It's not just what people get to see at the end, which is interesting about your question about e-commerce. Yeah. But the think tank behind it is, I call myself the Chief Experience Officer of the business when they say CEO, because all I ever cared about was girls like me being able to shop a category that speaks to them in a way that is created and packaged for them. Yeah. So I was always going to be the gatekeeper because I've spent 12 years building brands, international brands, relaunching other people's brands. Here I am, and I am the target market for a change. Yes. You know how they always say sometimes at work, you're not the target market. This time I am. Yeah. And the effortlessness was in the fact that I'm a serial collaborator. I know that also because I'm the target market, so is every other woman who can afford this price point. So I made sure that in the massaging of it, I collaborated quite a bit.
Speaking of pricing, you know, how do you, because you say the type of woman who can afford this one, what's the research like there? Because you don't want to, you know, go too high because you're chasing, you know, better margins, because then you price yourself out of the industry. But you don't want to go too low because ultimately you have to make a way to pay back your investors and to ultimately then also make a living.
Look, it's been a very tough one for me because coming to make a new product category was about going to prototype and invest a lot in engineering, right?
Yeah.
And also in the fact that the expertise didn't quite exist to custom dye to these skin tone shades now that I've gone and created. So the price point was going to be high, but the research was about necessary benchmarks. What are people paying for what is considered a custom bra, as in something special has been done to it? Because the custom shade is something special. It means I have to go through the same manufacturing processes and have minimum orders, right? But I had my benchmarks by playing around with the market, buying different kind of bras and going, okay, so if we are okay with buying a bra at this price from that retailer,
then you should be okay.
we can be okay when we need it. Because another thing is, it was creating an affordable niche within the luxury space. There are women who will wear tops like you and I are wearing today, where the question of the bra becomes an issue. That woman can now afford an extension because this is something that you add to your repertoire. Sometimes you want your bra to come through, but this is for that specific kind of need state where we all know there's that one top.
There's that one top.
That one top and that one dress.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get into every single woman's wardrobe. If every woman bought one bra,
then you're good.
And the numbers make it make sense.
Shona, quickly before we go to an ad break, how did you figure out your pricing?
So I didn't want it to be as expensive as normal bras that cater for girls with big boobs are. Because you're paying over 1,000 Rand.
1,200.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And it's really expensive. They're all imported. And most of them aren't very pretty. Like, you get some really pretty ones, but then they're like 4,000 Rand. So I really wanted to make it affordable, but obviously it couldn't be mass market pricing because I am making them in much smaller quantities. I'm importing all the goods. I've got high minimums, but I want to make it as affordable as possible. So long as it's covering my costs, I'm not making high margins, but I'm getting it to as many girls as possible who need it.
All right, so listen, it is a meeting of minds here on the show. After the break, welcome back to Real Talk, our resident business maverick, Vusi Thembekwayo, as we get into the challenges that online businesses are currently facing and how they can be solved. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Real Talk on SABC 3. The stage is yours. We're getting some insights into the work that goes into launching and running online businesses. We've been chatting to entrepreneurs Gugu Kabinde as well as Shona McDonald. We now welcome a man who's worked hard to earn his stripes in the field of entrepreneurship, self-made millionaire, leadership genius, he hates it when I say that, and author Vusi Thembekwayo.
You will always have new entrances into your market. And those new entrances may be old players who've reimagined their business, but there will always be something new. So the idea here is to aim to be the best in what you do, not the biggest. Size will come. Size always comes. So people lied to us when they said it's size that matters. It isn't. It's simply being the best.
Now, Vusi, you know I love you. Right? You know I love you. But when you say, and I agree with aim to be the best, not the biggest, right?
Yeah.
Here we're sitting with two entrepreneurs in the online space. You know, both are, you know, filling a market that was heavily empty.
Right.
And you're telling them not to aim to be the biggest.
So
let me explain myself.
So remember, size is a result. It's an outcome. So you gain size by gaining market share. You gain market share by getting loyal customers. You gain loyal customers by doing a series of things right. So entrepreneurs focusing on gaining market share is a non-strategy. You can't do it. What you have to do is come up with the things you need to do so that you can get loyal customers, so you can accumulate market share. I think, coincidentally, for both of them, the real challenge is going to be scaling really, really fast. And I'll tell you why. Because anytime niche players, and you see a lot of this, when you have a niche player in an online market, the minute they prove a concept, The larger established players just rejig their production and go exactly into the same category. So what you've got to be really clever as an entrepreneur is you've got to lie underneath the radar so that you're unnoticed for long enough to accumulate capital. And then once you've got enough capital or you've raised third-party capital from funders like ourselves, you then go all the way to the wall and you scale really, really quickly.
Okay, but do you not agree that because they both have a story and both have, you know, the concentration of their story is, it can't be diluted all that much, whereas a mass player, it's diluted?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I think that's a part of the brand essence, right? So the brand essence is their own personal journeys and how those journeys have led them to be who they are and have built those businesses. That lends an element of authenticity, and that's important. But remember that brands are also very good at manufacturing authenticity. So all I do is I take a This is so all I do is I take a sports star that has a sports star that perhaps might have applied a plus size
a
up
similar
here,
story,
and I can lend or borrow from a part of that authenticity.
I like your face, because your face is like my face, it can't lie. When I asked about the whole concentration, you went, what? Come with that.
We had a bit of a conversation off air, but I agree with him because my strength is in the brand side of things. How do you build that relationship with people where you kind of manage that competitive threat of you've created the niche, you've brought the market to become aware that this is a problem. But one of the faster things that you can, it's not a complete mitigation strategy, but one of the things you can do is also, there's flying under the radar, but building a critical mass. So you build a critical mass because the Internet of Things has changed borders. It has made thumbs revolutionaries. That's what I've tried to do, which is the thing that I know, which is first establish this critical mass of people who, I remember once an ad from a retailer came out and somebody commented on the retailer that it's so Google Intimates. And I was like, oh, wow, you see my brand, you're starting to see. So there's ways in which we lie under the radar, but there's also they're using the tools we have now at our disposal to create fandom very quickly. So that when you do scale, it's those people that refer, those people that help you cross-sell and upsell.
If I can, I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. In fact, quite the contrary. I think what you've got to figure out... So here's what I would do. As a strategist, I would go an inch wide and a mile deep. That's how you build for scale really quickly. And many entrepreneurs go a mile wide and an inch deep. And what that means is you get too many product categories, too many types of clients, and then all of a sudden you just spread yourself too thin. So the first thing I would do is I'd look at the core business proposition. I would rationalize the offering. I'd get 4 or 5 product lines that fire. And I would just spend 2 years getting those product lines into the hands of customers. Because what you want in a market acquisition strategy is to get as many of the first sample in people's hand. That's why Facebook is for free, right? Because the minute I can get you in it, then all of a sudden, oh, wait, I've tried the first one. I might just buy the second one, or the third one, or the fourth one. So you want to get to as many people as possible with just one product as quickly as possible.
Okay, so we're speaking scaling up. Shona, I noticed that yours is thursdays.co.za.
Yes.
And you are googleintimates.com. Why did you go with .co.za?
.com was taken.
Oh.
Look, I looked it up. When I scale, maybe I'll buy it at some CD store or something random.
They're becoming obsolete very soon, don't worry.
Exactly. So I wasn't too worried about it. My focus at the moment is South Africa. You know, let's cater for the market that I know, for the market that I can reach. I also am starting production in South Africa, so it's keeping everything local. That's very important to me. Really supporting the girls that I know and I understand and I know have problems, and then I'll take it further. And then take the brand of South Africa into different markets.
I am curious if I can, because I had the question, this is the back of my mind when I read your profile, which was there is a large constituency of women who would fall into your product category but aren't online. So I think about my grandmother, for instance, who would fall very firmly into your product category, but she's not in the thumb generation. And I suppose the question in my mind was, 1, would you even consider that as a customer? And 2, if you were to, how would you reach them as a customer? You know, so the typically black African woman in the rural areas, who is typically, not always, larger size breasts, she wouldn't necessarily be online. but she would be a very loyal advocate of the brand and what it stands for.
So she's not my core customer that I'm targeting.
Right.
I'm targeting her younger, more tech-savvy daughters and granddaughters who can maybe recommend the brand to her.
And buy it for her.
And buy it for her, because she's probably wearing the same bra for her whole life. She doesn't mind the granny bra if she's a granny. Maybe she hasn't worn like a really pretty one yet, and it's a nice gift for her, and maybe she'll change her mind that way. But she's not my core customer. She's not the one who's feeling conscious about her body because she can't get anything that's trendy.
Sorry, on behalf of all men listening, what's a granny bra?
I'm really happy you don't know.
Well done to Vusi's wife.
Yeah.
Well done to you.
You have style.
All right, listen, ladies, we look forward to seeing you guys grow from strength to strength to strength. Go out and check out their websites. Listen, if you don't get Thursdays.com, maybe you say day after Wednesday.com. I'm just here to help.
Can I recommend something?
Yes.
You know what's really popular?
Yeah.
.com/ZA.
Okay.
So anytime you find a URL that's taken, you go so-and-so.com/ZA. And you'll find that typically that's available.
Love it.
Awesome, thank you.
You see, everybody won today. Thank you so much to Gugu Gabinda of Google Intimates. Go and check them out. Shona McDonald's of Thursdays, check them out as well. Coming up next, to take a look at the business of medicine with Dr. Mtobeli Vundla. Stay with us. Welcome back to Real Talk on SABC 3. The stage is yours. As a child, he toyed around with the idea of either getting into medicine or law, but by the time he had matriculated, dentistry would be the victor. As an orthodontic specialist, he's made it his business to treat various teeth irregularities, including crooked teeth, correcting smiles, and for some that are self-conscious about that, as well as treating kids born with cleft lips and palates. Joining me now to talk about the business of medicine is orthodontist Dr. Mtobeli Vundla, who really were getting along. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. Then do you know what he says to me? That gap has to go. Now it's awkward. Why must my gap go?
Can you pronounce an S?
Yes, I can.
It's F.
No, it's not.
Eh?
Give me a word to say.
My sister wears fuzzy shoes.
My sister wears fancy...
There you
no,
go.
no, I am under pressure.
There you go.
My sister wears fancy shoes.
Fuzzy shoes.
Fuzzy shoes.
You're saying fuzzy shoes.
I didn't say fuzzy. I don't have a list. Don't come... thank you. I said
Thank
fuzzy.
you.
I have
Yes,
been
you said
speaking
fuzzy.
for my entire life with this
Okay.
gap. I'll have you know that it is perfect. Okay, so why do you have braces?
Because I want to close my gaps. Just
Your
like
gaps?
Yes, just like you.
Oh, could you floss with skipping rope? Was that the problem?
It's good for flossing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. So you wanted to do law, and then you were into medicine. Why do you decide you're going to go into dentistry? Did you see that the money was there?
The money. I don't think the money is there.
Okay.
There's actually work though. The idea was mainly medicine, law, dentistry, and then I was like, too much overtime in dentistry, in medicine.
Yeah.
Then let me go for dentistry.
Okay.
There's still blood, but it's clean. With ortho now, I can even wear white pants. Although
Okay.
I don't wear white pants. But yeah, I was always fascinated by it was either ortho or dentistry or medicine. But as you said, dentistry was a victor.
So what I find with what you do is that it's very tied to people's, self-esteem and how they're conscious about themselves. Like, are you being teased about the teeth? You've got, like you said, you fix the cleft plates. How much of yourself do you have to pour into what you're doing? Because it's a very personal thing. You're literally fixing people's aesthetic.
That's true. The scope, especially now, has changed with a lot of other patients seeking ortho treatment.
Yeah.
But it's very important for the kids.
Yeah.
Most of them in school, they get teased. And that automatically translates to how they cope in school.
This is very true.
Yeah, actually saw a sad case of one kid recently, a apparently wanted to commit suicide because she was being teased at school
About her teeth.
about her teeth. And the parents couldn't even afford treatment.
So is that
unfortunately.
something you do where you do some
So
stuff
it's
pro bono, as the lawyers would say it?
Yes, because some of the stories, they can be
Hard
very
hit.
touchy,
Yeah.
personal, and obviously we people, we
Yeah.
have to think about the other people as well.
Okay.
So it's not just about money.
You graduated in 2017, or you finished off like everything you were studying. Is that, yes? You were in Vusi from 2014 to 2017.
Yes, basically it was, the first one was a dentistry degree, which I graduated in 2004. Then I did a diploma with UTABC between 2009 and 10. Then a postgraduate degree with VETS, which I started in 2014, finished in 2017. It's basically 4 years.
And now you've got 4 practices.
Yes.
Why?
I
Don't
do.
hesitate. Don't hesitate. That's like, look, that's good going. How does one go from, because now you have got franchises, obviously, because that's what it is. How do you expand like that? How do you go from one practice to, to having 4 when you have to be at one place all the time?
The nice thing about orthodontics, I was chatting with Vusi outside, and we were saying, all you need to do, you don't have to be there all the time. So you just book your patients and you build up your diary. So I know I'm in Joburg on a certain day. So I've got patients waiting on that day. I don't have to be there all the time. And we don't really have any emergencies. If there's an emergency, it's a small thing, so you get someone to fix it. So that's how we manage.
Yeah.
Juggling up everything, it's a bit difficult, but it's doable. Because the plan was always like, I want to go back and work in the rural areas, which is also a challenge on its own. But working in those places, because I grew up there, let me go and give back to the communities back there. But there are challenges with that as well. So when I came to Joburg, people were like convincing me, stay in Joburg, stay in Joburg. That's where the work is.
Where the money is, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can say that. That's where the money is. But I was like, no, I always wanted to go back there. Let me go back and give back to those communities as well.
All right. Listen, the business of medicine comes with an entirely different set of challenges. Vusi will come back after the break to join Dr. Vundla and I, where he said there's challenges in working in the rural areas. Want to know about that. And also there's challenges in expanding, also know about that. And also kind of growing the empire where the people beneath you are also, well, not beneath you, but your subordinates are also within line of the vision, because you're not always there at the practices. All of these challenges will be discussed with Vusi after the break. And we're back with Real Talk for the last time today. So it was back in 2005 when Dr. Mthobeli Vundla's career really began, when he played a key role in the team doing community service at the Rietvlei Hospital. Since then, he has opened practices throughout the country, expanding on the service. Hear that, service. But what kind of uphill battles is he still contending with in the business of medicine? Business leader Vusi Thembekwayo is back on the couch to join in on this conversation.
Ultimately, organizations are at the behest of their leaders, really. The leaders drive where the organization goes. If you want to look at the trajectory of a business, you must understand the personality as well as the proclivity for growth and risk of the leader. But what is a leader? This is an important question to ask. A leader is somebody who, L, is listening and looking to things that are happening, eyes wide open. E, able to be efficient and effective in his allocation of capital and resources. A, has antennas placed on his head. This means connection to source, connection to information and data. D, is able to disrupt his own thinking and embrace a new way of thinking. E, is able to be effective in how he responds to the changes that are happening in the organization. And R, is able to be held responsible for his results. In our view, that's a leader. So when we ask our clients to speak about their leadership pipeline, what we're saying is, if you think about the future you want to build, who are the people in your organization right now that exhibit these attributes, and whether or not you could bring them on board in the business to help you build the business for the future.
So now, Vusi, for me, one of the ones that stand out there is the D when you say disruptor.
Yeah.
I find that he's a disruptor because doctors, right, we've always grown, doctors make all this money, and
Yeah.
doctor this, doctor that. But you're a disruptor when you're going to have more than 2 practices.
Yeah.
He's, like I said, he's basically making a franchise of his practices.
Yeah, it's really cool. You know, I think, again, we get back to this question of scale, scale, scale. So the challenge many doctors face, and I know because I spent 10 years of my life working as a professional speaker, is you only earn when you're working.
Yes.
Right, so the doctor, when he's in the practice, consulting and seeing clients, that's when he makes money.
Yes.
The beauty of his business is because he puts people through a regiment of treatment,
Yeah.
over the period of the treatment, he's guaranteed cash flows. So he's going to take you through a 2-year program where he's going to fix your teeth, say. I don't think, by the way, I think you found the gap in the market. I think we leave it alone.
Oh!
I'm just trying to say that we leave it alone. So because he's putting people through a regiment of treatment over a period of time, it means he's got guaranteed cash flows. His challenge is, again, he's selling time. So there is portions of time when he has to be in that space at that point in time to consult for those clients.
Yeah.
And if he really wants to scale, and it's an if, he doesn't have to, but if he really wants to scale, which I think he has the potential to, the question he's going to have to ask himself is, can he replace himself by training other people to deliver some of the more rudimentary work?
Yeah. Doctor, do you want to get more practices? I mean, you've got 4 already, but I mean, you look like the quiet, silent, ambitious type.
It's already a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
So I don't see myself getting more.
So then how are you planning on making more money with the 4 that you have? Because ultimately, it's what you're saying. And what,
Yeah.
An inch, what?
It's an inch wide and a mile deep.
And so we're already an inch wide, now you must go a mile deep.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
Looking at the business side of things,
Yeah.
the problem is with what we do, training more people doesn't really help at times because spending 2 years with one person, you get attached, whether you like it or not. So even if you've got 500 patients, believe me, you will know all of them because you get attached. It's over 2 years. And then when there's a new person, it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a bit of a challenge to introduce a new person, whether that person is good or not, because it has nothing to do with the potential of the person.
So, Doc, here's a consideration, just a thought. I wouldn't necessarily scale the competence, but I would scale the brand. So what I would say is, so I would build my practice to go, when people come, what do they expect? What experience do they get? And if I were to close my eyes and sign a signature and go, this is what it looks like, what would it be? Right. Now, how do I do that in 20 other sites? That's what I would do. And that's how, typically, that's how almost all medical professionals scale, right? You see a lot of it in the US.
Yeah.
You'll find plastic surgeons who do a lot of this, where they'll have 50, 60 practices. And really what they do is they stand as the guarantor of the work that's been done.
So the level of quality
100%.
you are getting where you see Vundla, right?
100%.
Would be the same as in my practice because I have now kind of molded and trained this person to go and start their own practice.
100%. And even in the mind of the consumer, they know. They know you might be there for the first consultation.
Yeah.
You might be there when you come up with a regimen of treatment, but you help them understand that I've got a team that's going to take you through this process. My job is going to be to stand as guarantor at any point in time, and then at the end of it to put a rubber stamp and go, it's done. I'm happy.
Does that sound like a plan for you?
It's a good plan.
So you could be like the SABC of teeth.
I could be like sleeping and having other people making money for me.
Exactly. So you sleep and you make money. And we can leave my teeth alone. Look at that. I like my gap.
Chap, leave the
He
gap.
just mouthed. As I said, I like my gap. He's like, if you had come to me when I was 16 years old, I would have closed it. Now I'm 34. I'm like, this is it. Thank you so much to all my guests today. Shona McDonald, Gugu Gabinde, Dr. Mtobeli Vundla, as well as Vusi Thembekwayo, always bringing the best of insights when it comes to business. Now, we're bracing ourselves for an African creative revolution through the talent of artists, musicians, and designers who are all changing the way that the continent is viewed. tomorrow, we welcome to Real Talk DJ Maporisa, Trevor Sturman, as well as Kuli Chana, as we prepare for the One Source Live Festival. You don't want to miss this. Isidingo is coming up next time. We need to watch it. It's the last week of Rajesh. I'm shattered. We'll see you tomorrow.